The president's trade agreement is dominating the news as various factions in Washington make their various claims. Now, some say that this, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, this trade agreement, is the most important deal in the history of deals. Others say it's the worst thing to happen since, well, John Leguizamo's one-man show on Broadway. Now, you know, typical Washington hyperbole. So what's the skinny? Should this be supported or not? And there are some Democrats that have found some common ground with Republicans. And I don't know whether or not I should be nervous or thankful that maybe their minds have opened. I'm not quite sure. To help sort out all of this, we have on with us Dan Ikenson, director of Cato Center for Trade Policy Studies. He joins us now. Dan, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
So which is it? The Trans-Pacific Partnership is either the neatest thing to come around since sliced bread, or this is just the spawn of Satan. I don't hear any middle ground. It's one or the other. Where do you fall?
Well, you know, I'm a believer in free trade. We have lots of trade agreements, and they're not really free trade. They're reciprocity-oriented, managed trade, and the TPP is like that as well. But that doesn't mean that I don't support the TPP. If it's more trade liberalizing than it is protectionist,
right,
then I would likely support it. But we don't know what's in the TPP yet,
exactly,
because the deal is not done.
That's, yeah, because you don't know what provisions are in it, because none of it. I mean, we kind of have an idea. We've had some things that we've heard from Washington, D.C., but I mean, you haven't read any part of it. I haven't seen any part of it online. We have no idea what's in it.
Well, you know, I think a lot has been made, unfortunately, about this notion that this is a secretive agreement. There's nothing more secretive this go-around than in previous trade agreements. The text will be available to the public to review, to Congress to review, for probably 4 to 9 months before a vote even comes to the floor. So that's really not much of an issue. We want to see the TPP, to see what's in it. But in order to get to that, the Congress and the President need to agree on something called Trade Promotion Authority, which is a compact between the two branches. Each branch has responsibilities for trade policy from the Constitution. You know, the Congress is authorized to regulate foreign commerce, and the President is authorized to enter into foreign treaties. So Trade Promotion Authority would essentially be Congress telling the President, go out and meet these objectives with your trade agreement, and if you bring it back to us, we will give it expedited treatment, an up or down vote with no amendments. It's really, it's creating concerns for some Republicans who think it gives the President too much power, but it really doesn't. Congress can pull the plug on fast track if the agreement brought home doesn't meet those objectives, and ultimately they can vote against it. There's no mischief that President Obama can do that the Congress doesn't sign off on. So Congress votes in the end. So let's get TPA done. It has passed the Senate. There's likely to be a vote in the House tomorrow. And then once that's done, the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiation itself can wrap up. It may take a month, 2 months, 6
right,
months, but it won't wrap up unless the President has this authority, because there's no guarantees that the agreement wouldn't be picked apart by the Congress.
Right. And speaking of the President, I found it odd. He was at odds, speaking of being odd, he was at odds with Senator Elizabeth Warren at one point over this. Elizabeth Warren blasted his position on this. There seemed to be a deep divide on the left over TPP, and there were a number of Republicans. It's the same on the right. I mean, for the first time, I think we have seen huge splits in both Democrat and Republican parties over where to stand on this. What is your take on that? I mean, what does that just truly signal that just, I guess, for the lack of a better way to put it, kind of what a mess this is, and sort of the weak rollout that they've had in trying to persuade members of Congress to support it?
You know, I'm sorry, I have to tell you that I did not get your question. It's coming in and out in my earpiece.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I had asked that. I was following at one point Senator Elizabeth Warren and the President were at odds over this. And Democrats as well as Republicans, there seemed to be this huge split in both parties over this particular deal, with, you know, either all these factions squaring off against the other. To me, that seems to be just a giant red flag as to, you know, it's kind of a mess of a deal. It's sort of a poor rollout to persuade members of Congress. What do you make of that when you have that big of a split with each party?
This trade does make strange bedfellows, for sure. It's an issue that tends to divide Democrats, and it's one that unites Republicans. And in this case, you have President Obama and about at least 200 Republicans out of the 245 who are in favor of trade promotion authority, and most of the Democrats in Congress opposed to it. You know, regardless of the party of the president, the president usually takes a pro-trade stance. It's usually the anti-trade sentiments are usually manifest in the Congress.
Right.
But interestingly, progressives who have sort of anti-corporate tendencies, like Elizabeth Warren, are finding common ground with conservatives who don't want to who are wary of giving the president too much power.
For different reasons.
For different reasons, but by and large, this has been hyperbolized.
Right.
There's been a lot of fallacies put forward about what the agreement will do. We don't even know what's in the agreement yet, and it's not because somebody's trying to pull the rug over our eyes. We are just the deal's not done yet, and when it's done, we'll have a chance to review it.
Well, I hope that we get to review it before it's passed into law. That's my hope. Dana Ikenson, Trade Policy Director, Cato Institute. So good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Another court battle over Obamacare up next. Keep it here.